Months before the PlayStation 5's release, Sony issued a post explaining what peripherals from the PlayStation 4 era can work on the latest console. While the info seemed cut and dry, it looked vague enough for me to be skeptical on what works and what doesn't. While it was a bit troubling to get one due to a combination of high demand, not enough stock, and bots having a chokehold in the mess, I was able to get a PS5 back in December with that skepticism lingering. I'm the Phantom Knot, and I tested as much PS4 peripherals I have on the PS5. For my testing, I went with both the PS4 and PS5 builds of Mortal Kombat 11. As someone who is involved in the fighting game community, I chose this game since I can see the compatibility differences between both versions. When the community transitions over to the PS5 in the near future, I aim to provide an idea of what controllers and arcade sticks can work so they can prepare for games such as the upcoming Guilty Gear Strive. Whether it's a small local gathering or even big major events such as EVO, fighting games also rely on close interpersonal competition. While online play has been improving with aspects such as rollback netcode, there is the eventuality of local events happening once we're able to safely interact with each other in close proximity. Players and tournament organizers can probably find some useful info in the results. Even if you play other games, you could still get a good idea on what works and what doesn't. When it comes to PS4 peripherals I have, a majority of them are arcade sticks, while I do have some controllers as well, most of them officially licensed by Sony. I do have some PlayStation 3 peripherals which I'll mention in a bit. Here are the list of full arcade sticks I use. Here are the controllers I used. I also used some of the fighting boards and super converters from Brook. With that said, let's begin. Starting off is the PS4 version of Mortal Kombat 11. On the game support page, it says that this version is compatible with the previous gen DualShock 4, the latest era DualSense, some PS4 fight sticks and fight pads, and some PS3 fight sticks that were compatible on PS4. About that last point, unique to the PS4 version is a legacy compatibility driver that can allow some PS3 peripherals to work. It's also found in games such as Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5, and Skullgirls. Some of the PS4 controllers and sticks have a PS3 mode which I did try out. Taking a look at the primary PS4 mode first, every PS4 controller and stick I used completely works on this version of MK11 running on PS5. Even the Brook boards and converters were operational. I just sign in and I'm ready to go. If your PS4 stick or pad worked on PS4, it'll probably work with PS4 games on PS5 just fine. The legacy mode is a bit more fascinating, however. When a peripheral is detected, it does require a DualShock 4 or DualSense to accept the prompt, which state can be turned off afterwards. The only true PS3 sticks I have are both the Tekken 6 and the Tekken Tag Tournament 2 Prologue Real Arcade Pro models by Hori, and they worked. The Obsidian and Dragon by Tremba, for example, can work when their switches are set to PS3 mode. The Drone and Crystal is problematic as the former was detected, but was unusable while the latter just didn't work at all respectively. It was a bit intriguing that the DualShock 3 didn't work at all, but at that point you might as well use it with the proper Brook Super Converter, which was tested and confirmed to work. I also tried out peripherals that had some form of direct input driver such as the Sega Astro City Mini Arcade Stick and the 8-bit Do Arcade Stick, but while they can be detected, they had very low practical usability. Now onto MK11 on PlayStation 5. Back at the support page, the DualSense and some PS4 fight sticks and fight pads are set to work on this version. In my testing, every arcade stick I used worked. The Razer Ryan was the only controller-sized peripheral that was functional. The Mad Catz Fight Pad Pro for some reason didn't, despite being officially licensed like the Ryan and the arcade sticks. The DualShock 4, as mandated by Sony, is disabled when attempted to be used on PS5 games. More losers are the Brook boards and converters, as those are unlicensed. My guess is that those and the Fight Pad Pro are recognized by the PS5 as something like the DualShock 4 in the system's controller protocol. The arcade sticks and the Ryan likely have different indicators to allow a proper handshake. While I was working on this video, I forgot that I have some keyboard and mouse adapters that worked on PS4. I could say that the IO Gear Keymander 2 and Zim Apex, two that I own, work on PS5 games with the latest firmware patches. While they don't work with the DualSense for some reason, they can accept third-party PS4 controllers such as arcade sticks for pass-through. On Zim's forums, it also mentions that some controllers like the Razer Raiju, various Nocon Pro Revolution models, and even the small Hori Mini gamepad will work. While I don't have those in my possession, it's possible that those controllers as well as other listed ones are not blacklisted by Sony. I can't test them all, sadly. I initially thought that the compatibility would be a bit more strict in a game-by-game basis, where arcade sticks for example might be disabled in non-fighting games. I did also test with Spider-Man Remastered, which is another PS5 game. While I was limited in ideally controlling Spider-Man while testing, I just needed to see if the game accepts any inputs at all. My results here were the same as MK11, no changes. So let's summarize. The PlayStation 4 version of Mortal Kombat 11 accepted my PlayStation 4 controllers and arcade sticks, licensed and unlicensed on PlayStation 5. With what I have, it looks like you could still use PlayStation 3 peripherals on this version through the PS5 as well, if the game includes the legacy driver. Better to use those that were explicitly designed for the PS3 though. At least in the PS4 arcade stick side as well as some outliers, when officially licensed, they worked on the PS5 version of MK11. Since they're able to work on Spider-Man Remastered as well, the peripherals that work are not locked down in a game-by-game basis. The unlicensed peripherals, one licensed controller, as well as a DualShock 4 didn't work as they are probably using similar IDs in the PS5's controller protocol. It's possible that some non-specialized controllers can work on PS5, but your mileage may vary. I didn't even go over other special peripherals such as racing wheels and flight sticks as I don't have any. They are in the same category as arcade sticks in Sony's post, so they should work as well. It's unfortunate to see PlayStation 4 controllers, at least with first party and maybe some third party, not work on PlayStation 5. It's more or less justified by games using aspects of the DualSense such as haptic feedback and force feedback triggers. At fighting game tournaments, I do see some pad players with specific models that fit best for them. With the latest generation, players will have to acclimate to the DualSense or wait for other officially licensed third-party controllers. However, Brook has been working on firmware for their fighting boards to have PS5 support, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to do something similar on the Super Converter front. There is hope for last generation pad players, but there is no expected time frame as of this video. For those who haven't modified their PS4 arcade sticks with fighting boards, you are able to reap the benefit of no-fuss compatibility once you're able to get a PS5 anytime soon. To be fair, it's still not easy to get. If local fighting game tournaments ever return in the near future, not everyone who brings in a setup will have the latest console. Aside from the King of Fighters 15, which is still up in the air on what platforms will it be on, Mortal Kombat 11 and the upcoming Guilty Gear Strive have versions on PS4. If I were to bring my PS5 to my local, I will likely use the PS4 version of those games to make sure PS4 pad players and Brook users can use it. The latest console generation is still at an early age, so there's no real need to opt in immediately. Sure, I won't get the benefits of higher resolution and faster loading times, but it's not like an increase in frame rate which can make a game run smoother and have lower input lag. Until next time, thank you for watching.